You ever wondered what it's like to live with a 2007 3-litre turbo diesel Volkswagen Touareg? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's pretty bloody good. Welcome to the all-terrain Touareg, to our very first video on the channel with all things Touareg modifications, maintenance, and overlanding. If you are someone who likes to get out and about, do camping, four-wheel driving adventures, then this is going to be the place for you, especially if you're driving one of these bad boys. Now, the main question is, what is it like living and driving a 2007 Volkswagen Touareg 3-litre turbo diesel? Well, I can tell you right now, it's pretty freaking good. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Touareg, all the modifications, and some of the things that I've done to it so far after owning it for only 12 months. I really do hope that this audio was all right. I've got the fancy cameras and all the gear ready to rock and roll, but I've been putting it off for a couple of days, and I thought, you know what, I just got to get out there and I've got to film this video. So I want to give you a quick rundown. Let's start on the outside and then we'll work our way onto the inside. Okay, now let's have a look on the outside. Like I said, this is a 2007 3-litre turbo diesel Volkswagen Touareg, and for all you Touareg lovers out there, you will know that this generation, I truly believe, is one of the best. And the reason why that is not only the power, the reliability, and the performance of the motor, but it is this thing that is underneath the car right about here. It is a low range gearbox, which is very, very powerful. Now, from, I think it was the second generation onwards, they went with a 8-speed automatic transmission rather than a 6-speed automatic transmission with a low range gearbox. But for me personally, I really love that option of having a low range gearbox that you can lock in anytime that it is that you wish. Now, these also came with, or this model anyway, which is the 4X Motion, comes with a center diff lock, or a central differential lock, which is really, really powerful. And look, to tell you the truth, I haven't even used it yet, and you know, that's something that I really want to get out there and start doing a lot more of. Now, this channel is called the All-Terrain Touareg, and in my mind, that means that you are going over all terrains. This is our daily driver. I've got two beautiful little kids, Rocky, Roy, and Frankie. You'll probably see later on in the channel somewhere, and my wife, April. And like I said, this is our daily driver. We drop the kids off to kindy in school, all these sorts of things. But obviously on the weekends, we love to get this thing out, get it dirty, and clock us some case, because it is one of the most luxurious ways to travel that I ever have. In the past, I've had Hiluxes, I've had two Hiluxes, and a heap of other bunch of little just two-wheel drive cars, but nothing like this. This is very, very special. So if you do have a Touareg, in the comment section below, let me know what model, what make, and all the details, modifications that you've done on that. I'd love to get back to every single person. If you do not have a Touareg, then let me know what sort of four-wheel drive or touring car that you're running. And if you are still interested in the touring, four-wheel driving, and overlanding, but you don't have a four-wheel drive or your dream setup just yet, let me know what that dream setup would be. Now, let's get stuck into this thing here, the engine. It is a 3-litre turbo diesel. This is a BKS model. It has 165 kilowatts and it also has 500 Newton meters of torque, which in English and layman's terms means it goes like an absolute rocket. Now, you can get these things tuned up with the stage 1 tune. I think it costs you about $1,500, and apparently they push out 200 kilowatt, with up to 600 Newton meters of torque easily, which is crazy, right? Some of these models actually come with the 180 kilowatt just as standard, and as far as I know, the turbos, the engines, everything is still the same, but they're just tuned a little bit differently. So, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, this one here, I absolutely love it. It's got so much freaking power, especially for me. I'm not breaking any land speed records, but it's got so much power for me and what it is that I want to do, that it's absolutely perfect. Now, do I want to get this thing tuned in the future? Yes. Why? Number one, I just want to get it tuned. I want to see the drivability and the performance, the power that it gets out of it. Number two is probably also fuel economy. Now, this thing at current gets about 8.2 is the lowest I've got it down. 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers, which is really good, because standard on their specs, from the manufacturers, Volkswagens, it says it's about 10. So I suppose that is taking into consideration of highway and also, you know, traffic. Around town, it probably is about the 10, 11. Who even knows, right? Depends on who's driving it and how they're driving it. But it's great, right? It really is great. Now, I've had the car for about 2 years. I've done a few things to it to get it up to, you know, my level or my likings of maintenance and performance and, you know, durability and all these sorts of things. I'll probably do a whole video all on its own, the story and the background of buying this, because it was a bit of an ordeal. It took me about probably 3 months looking all over Australia and even getting to the point where I was like, hey, there's nothing here in Australia that I actually really love. Let's import one from New Zealand. But that was a whole nother story inside itself. So, you know what? One day I'll make a story on the actual story of the Touareg. And it's really, really cool because I tell you what, from going from what the hell is a Touareg? I had no idea what a Touareg was, to then finding out what they were, to then driving one, to then owning one. That's a really cool story, right? And for you, you know, listening now, you've probably got a Touareg. You know the story. Once upon a time, you didn't know what these suckers were. And the cool thing, the really cool thing that I love about this is so many people don't know what they are. And because it's a Euro, they're like, oh my God, it's a Euro. Don't even bother about it. But it's like, hang on a second, you don't know. Now, do they cost you money to maintain? Yes, every car is going to do. Are the parts a little bit dearer? Yes, probably. But the satisfaction and the joy that I get from driving this thing is unlike anything else, right? I went down to the beach fall driving with the family, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago now. And we're cruising at the beach. There's absolutely no one there because we planned to go during the time where, you know, it was off-peak season. And the really crazy thing was there was a guy in a patrol. I think it was like a 2000G U patrol, it must have been. And he got bogged, right? He got bogged. And I went up behind him and I got max tracks to the back and I was going to give him a tow and all these sorts of things. I was really excited. Oh my God, here's my time. Now's my time to shine, right? And I got out and I gave him a push and we dug him out a bit and all these sorts of things. And he turned around and I was driven right up behind him that he couldn't really see. He was obviously busy getting out of his bog. He looked at the Touareg and he looked at me and he had this very strange look on his face as in, well, what the hell is that thing? And why is it on the beach? Then I started up because he was letting his tires down more and all these sorts of things. And because there was only one-way street, right? One-way path. I went up and around him over like the really soft sand. So number one, he looked at me as in, what the hell is that thing? Number two, he looked at me as in, why is it on the beach? And then once I drove around him, he looked at me as in, why is it so good? Why is it so good off-road? And I can tell you one thing. This bloody Touareg has blown my mind in the capabilities that it has off-road. Now, we were not even in low range. We weren't even using the low range gearbox. We were just using the normal standard in sports mode gearbox, right? Just a normal everyday drive. And why? Because it is a constant all-wheel drive. Normally about 40 to 60% power ratio. Then if needed, it's got the 4X motion with it, which is, you know, all the fancy things that make it you know, kick into your differentials and all these sorts of things, right? Now, look, I really hope that this wind is paying off or, you know, leaving us alone because, like I said, this is a bit of a rush video. I just wanted to get it out here. So let's go over a few things just for this video and then we can, you know, we can keep on moving on. Let's start off with tires. Now, these tires and rims are factory. These rims here are factory, but I have coated them in a rust protection paint. All right, that was very, very easy to do. And one day when I redo them, because as you can see here, there's a bit of scuff marks and all these sorts of things, I'm going to redo them. And when I do, I'll make a full video how to and you know, what I did in order to paint them. But they came up absolutely great. These Discovery all-terrains, the Cooper Discovery tires, really, really popular here in Australia, but these were a bargain. I got these off Facebook Marketplace for $200. That's crazy. That's $50 a tire. Now, in saying that, they probably haven't got the best amount of tread on them, but guess what? I didn't want anything that was going to last, 10 years. I just wanted to get something out of standard and into the next realm so I could get out and start moving around and doing some off-roading and overlanding, some trips with the family. Now, on the front end, I've also had the suspension side of things when I got it. When you went over the bump, it sounded like the whole front end was going to fall out, which was not very exciting. So what we ended up doing is a lower control arms on left and right side. We had new struts or new shocks put in, and also new sway bar links as well. Has that helped out? Absolutely tremendously. It drives like I would imagine it would drive new. But there's one thing, and you might hear this later on when we go for a little bit of a drive. There is a bit of a knock sound in the front end when you go over bumps at articulation. Now, with all the research that I've done, I've narrowed it down to the sway bar bushes. Apparently, that's a really common thing. So in the future, if that's what it is and I decide to change them, whatever it is it might be, I'll do a video on that as well. All right, you can see a LED light bar here that I have put on, and how I put that on is I'll do a video on this as well. I'm going to do a video on every single thing that I've done and every single thing that I will do, but I actually bolted it into the chassis rail right at the very front. So I drilled through, connected up a bracket, and there it is. It works like an absolute treat, but I've still got to do the wiring. That is a job for another day. Now, also with the front grille, what I did is I got a little bit of Plasti Dip. It's a spray paint that you can get from, pretty much any hardware, any car shop, whatever it is that works for you. It's about $20 Australian, and you can literally spray that on, do a few different coats, and it is absolutely beautiful. But the beauty with Plasti Dip is it is a plastic paint. It's not like a normal spray paint. So that means that you can spray paint it on anything. You can spray paint on the bonnet, a big smiley face. Let it dry, and then you just peel it straight off. Okay, so once again, I'll show you another video on that, and if the videos are up to date by the time you're watching this one, go through the playlist and check them out. There'll be a whole bunch of different things on there, right? So what else have I done to this? We've done the suspension, we've done the wheels, we've done the tires. That was really powerful. We did the the lights up the front. Now, I've also had, obviously, just normal wear and tear service all done. I had the fuel filter changed in the last little bit of work that we've done. Another really great, and when I say great, I mean like fantastic maintenance bit of work that we did was the automatic transmission, getting it serviced. And all they do is drop out the old oil, although Volkswagens say that the oil is lifetime. Right? In my mind, that's a no. In their mind, that's a yes, whatever. I noticed that when I was going into reverse, you get a big old clunk. Some of the gears would not be as smooth as I would like them to be. Had that service done, and I tell you what, it has been so good. No more clunking, no more noises. Drives just like brand new, right? Which is really, really cool. Now, obviously on the outside, what else have we done? Done a little other bit of the Plasti Dip, like I was saying, down here, and all the trims as well, right? All these used to be chrome, as you can see. So that's really cool. Put in an awning, got that from June? Got that from Anaconda probably a couple of months ago. This thing was on sale for $60. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely amazing, right? And the cool thing is, if you can see this, because your Touareg has the rails already as standard, all I did was I got 2 bolts, and the brackets there came with the awning, and I just literally bolted them to the roof rack, which is freaking amazing, right? And now it works great. So I'll do a video on that one day to get it rocking and roll. I'm just trying to think of what else we've done outside. I think outside that is about it. Oh, maybe one minor little thing that I should have told you that we've done that really helped this beast out was brand new injectors. Yes, wait for it. Brand new injectors, brand new what do you call them? Glow plugs, new glow plug relay, new brakes, all right, new ceramic brakes, which is really cool. New rotors, obviously make this bloody tank stop like a little car, which is really cool. And yeah, that's about it that I can think of right now. Let's go check out inside. Oh my Lord, that's much better to get out of that wind. And I tell you what, there's many things, right, that I love about this car, but there's one thing that I truly love is when you are out overlanding, camping, going on little road trips, even just going down to the shop, whatever it is, it could be absolutely pouring down rain outside. you get into this thing and you've got your own little world. You've got leather seats, you got all the climate control, you've got all the comfort that you could possibly want. You turn the key, you drive home, no matter what the conditions are, and you're done. All right, and you're absolutely done. It's really, really cool, right? So let me give you a bit of a look around. Obviously, the back is the kids' domain. This is where Frankie sits over here, Rocky sits over there. We've got a whole heap of gear in the back. Now, there's a little bit of a secret in this boot that I'm going to show you, right? So stay tuned through this whole entire video. And I promise you, it's going to be really, really cool. Let's have a look at the dash. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn this on because it is hot as buggery here. All right, starts up like an absolute gem each time, every time. Okay, so this is going to be your dash mat. This is going to be everything that you need. Now, the cool thing that I love about this, well, it's a love-hate relationship, right? Number one, down here, you've got your voltage meter. In most other cars, they don't have that. You have to get an external one like this one here. This one comes standard, right? Obviously, fuel gauge, you know, temperatures, all these sorts of things standard. And then this little sucker right here gives you all your fancy stats, etc., etc. All right, everything else is pretty standard, and this is in beautiful condition. I always make sure that this is nice and clean and taken care of because I just love getting into a clean car. Now, one thing or another thing that we did to the Touareg that made a huge difference was go and get the gas in the aircon re-gassed. We went from the kids whinging, oh, Dad, it's too hot in here, it's too hot. And this poor, old, tired, worn out aircon on flat out, on low, which is below 16 degrees or something like that on the tacho, to now the kids in the back seat turning off their little vent saying, Dad, it's cold, can you turn it up? Can you turn it up? And that cost $120. So that was a really powerful little investment, right? Now, there's one of many things that I would say in the context of maintenance for your Touareg. For the love of baby Jesus, find a mechanic that, number one, you can trust, and that may be hard depending on where it is that you've gone and what it is that you've experienced before. And number two, one that knows what the bloody hell it is that they're doing. I've heard so many stories on the forums, so many stories on the Facebook groups and things like that, people going to the dealership, and just getting absolutely not the service that they want or need, right? So I go to an independent Volkswagen VAG mechanic, and they're great, right? They've got a big old workshop there. They've got all the bells and whistles, everything that you'd possibly need. And the beauty about that is I can do a little bit to do with a little bit, all right, with the mechanic side of things, general oil changes, stuff like that, all well and good, right? But obviously injectors and all that sort of stuff, I have no idea, right? Absolutely no idea. So guess what? You go to an expert and you pay them. Now, do you have to pay them money? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. It is a worthy investment. Every time I put money into this car with my wife, obviously she knows about most of the purchases about this car, whereas like, hey, this is an investment. We want to take this car to places where we have never been. We want to take the most valuable things that we have in our life, our children and ourselves, on these great, amazing road trips and do all these really cool things. We want to do it in style. We want to do it in comfort, to be, you know, moderate. We don't want glamping. But when we're driving, like I said, I haven't had, but I've driven in Land Cruisers, Patrols. I've had old Hiluxes and old four-wheel drives. And sometimes they're like riding a freaking camel, right? You get in this thing, you don't even know that you're going over bumps because it's so smooth, especially with the work that we have done. So what else do I need to show you? What else we got in here? This is a really cool feature. Now, this little dial here is a tachometer, but it's a digital one. And the cool thing is here, we've got speed, and over on this side, we've got the coolant temperature and also the oil temperature, which is really powerful, right? Now, if you like to stress yourself out, if you like to maybe, you know, pull your hair out, whatever it is that you want to call it, then get one of these. Get one of these and focus on your coolant temperature all the time. I had the thermostat redone, I don't know, probably a month ago, right? And your thermostat, obviously depending on your driving conditions, can change so much, but guess what? This little sucker right here does not change. Has never gone over 90 degrees. And that is because Volkswagen has built in a bit of a buffer. All right, I'm pretty sure it's got to get up to 110 on here before this one will even start to move. And I suppose the reason for that is because way too many people are taking their cars into the shop and saying, oh my God, you know, it's overheating and all these sorts of things. It's like your temperature coolant can fluctuate a whole bunch. So if you've got a Touareg, any four-wheel drive, obviously keep an eye on it, make sure that it's not going too hot, but also understand that your motor is working. Now, with the Touareg, this is a cool thing that I didn't know until a couple of months ago. The coolant system not only cools your oil, your coolant system also cools your turbo and also cools your transmission, because the transmission has an oil cooler as standard. Now that's very, very powerful, because a lot of other cars, like this thing is built for towing. It's built for towing 3,500 kilos. That's 3.5 tons. That's a lot of weight, and it is built as standard to do that. Therefore, they put an oil cooler for the transmission in, and not many other cars have that. You got to buy that separate, and they're a couple of $100, right? Whatever it is that it might be. So this is really handy, and I got that off Amazon for I think about $40. Jump onto there, and all it does is it plugs into under here to your OBD reader, which every car, every Touareg is going to have one. You literally plug it in, and bada bing, bada boom, you're good to rock and roll. All right, let's look at this thing. Throttle controller. Is it worth it? Yes. Did it cost a little bit of money? Yes. Only $170. We got it on special. Do I use it? Sometimes. The reason why I only use this sometimes is because honestly, this thing has so much power, I do not need more around town. All right, so this has a whole bunch of different settings that you can put onto the little chip here, onto the little interface, and it'll obviously interfere with the throttle controller within your motor. Okay, all that does is it opens up faster and quicker, so then the motor can do its thing faster and quicker. And I tell you what, when you put that thing onto, we call it turbo mode, right, which is Ultimate 9, you feel like you're in a freaking spaceship, right? It absolutely flies. But the other cool thing with this is you can dull your throttle right down. All right, so imagine just feathering, just touching your throttle, and it absolutely going like a rocket. Now we want to go to the opposite end of the pendulum, and we want to really have to step on the throttle to go anywhere. Now that's going to be great when you're reversing a trailer. It's going to be great when you are four-wheel driving over rocky, short, slow terrain. Why? Because you can just put your foot down and you can just let the vehicle idle up. Let the gearbox, the low range gearbox, do its thing and just idle up and over whatever it is that you're doing. So I haven't tested that out yet, but I do want to get into that. I'm actually very, very curious on how that is going to work. But I tell you what, turbo mode works really good. My kids freaking love it because it pins you back in your chair, and obviously you go like a rocket, right? Okay, there's one more thing that I want to show you, and it is in the boot. Let me get out and let me show you. Now, in the boot, just looks like any, thanks to my lovely wife, right? It just looks like any old normal boot, right? It's got all the gear that you need, that a boot would need. But underneath here, let me show you this. Okay, I really hope that I can do this justice with one hand. As you can see here, we can lift up, and underneath I've got all sorts of different gear, right? So I've got the spare wheel there. I've got a compressor for obviously off-road. I've got jumper leads for other people, right, if they need help. I've got a whole bunch of tools there, you know, snatch strap, all sorts of things. And then you got all the factory standard gear to change your tires. But if you can see this, which once again, I'll do a whole video on this, so then if you are inspired to do this yourself, you can. When we go away, I've got a fridge, a 45-litre fridge that sits here, and it sits on a little platform, right? The platform bolts into the straining points here, Okay, so it bolts into there with a little bracket, and there's another one back there, so it's absolutely rock solid. Then I put my fridge on, I tie that down, we're good to rock and roll. And the cool thing is the fridge I can open and shut without, I don't need a slide or anything like that. But obviously I still want to get in underneath. So what I did is I took the jigsaw to this back bit of ply. Okay, so took the jigsaw to that back bit of ply, and I cut that open so I can still get into the gear that I want. Now keep this in mind, in the future I'm going to have either the spare wheel on top of the roof on a roof rack, or I'm going to get a spare wheel carrier that will go onto the hitch, and then that will be freed up. Essentially in there I want to have my secondary battery, so dual battery in there, and then maybe, I haven't looked into it much just yet, but maybe I want to put in a water bladder so I can take about 30 liters of water underneath there, and I don't have to think about it, worry about it. I'll hook it onto a tap and we're good to rock and roll. So that'll be 30 liters of water underneath the boot. Then I've got another 20 liters, so that's 50 liters all up of fresh drinking water. You could use it to cook, do whatever it is that you want to do with. I'm pretty happy with that, right? For the places that we're going right now, Frankie and Rocky, they're 6 and 4. We're not going anywhere too death defying, right? But we want to work our way up to that in the very near future. So like I said, fridge goes there, all our gear goes there. If we really need to, we can open up and get into that. But I mean, you know, if you really wanted to, take the fridge out and you got the whole thing. So whatever it is you got under there, I really want to put in only things that I don't really need, right? So sort of makes sense. So there we are. That is the Touareg in, I would say, like a fair bit of detail for this little video that I thought was only going to take just a few minutes. But oh my God, if I can get in here. I tell you what, I've had so much fun for the past couple of weeks creating the channel, and not only creating the channel, but just planning out what it is that I want to do. And in the future, we're going to do a whole bunch of different things, right? I'll take you on some little trips of where we've been. I want to do a lot of testing, right? Myself, I'm a super geek, right? I want to know all the details, and I want to test, right? I want to test everything, which is really, really cool. Now, what are we going to do? I think right now we should go for just a little drive to send this video out. So do yourself a favor and do me a favor, right? Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because I tell you what, I have so much fun making these videos because it's on something that I truly, truly love. And if I can share that with you, if I can inspire you to do a few mods or a few different things or maintenance things to your car or even your Touareg, happy days, job done. So let's go for a little drive. All right, here we are. Let's go for a drive. Aircon is on, which is honestly, it's a bloody goods, man. Oh my Lord, I'm just going back to the office right now. It's Friday here, and the cool thing is on Monday, so a couple of days time, we're actually going away to Somerset Dam. So we're going on a little drive. I think it's about maybe 300k, something like that, to get there. But we're there for 9 days. And in those 9 days, there's a few little drives that I want to do. Last time we went to a place called Pebble Creek, and that was beautiful. It's just like this little national park up in, you know, Queensland, right, where I live. Yeah, this little national park, and I tell you what, it was great. Okay, so we're just at a red light here now. We're going to go around, and I'm going to give her the beans just a little bit. Oh my Lord, I tell you, it goes, that goes like a rocket, right? What are we at? That's 70 Ks, just like that. And that's, the throttle controller's not even on. Oh my Lord, you put that throttle controller on and you got your head bopping and banging back in the chair, which is really good. I tell you, I mean, what else do you want to know? There's so many different things that I want to do, but the main things are the overlanding. And the overlanding is to get out and see Australia, to get out, do your tours, do your little, you know, adventures, whatever it is that you want to call it, and, you know, just enjoy some time away, right? The phone ran out of storage on our little drive, but I just wanted to thank you so much for stopping in, checking out the channel, liking, commenting, subscribing, all those sorts of things, and also joining us again for another video on all things Touareg mods, maintenance, and overlanding. Thanks for stopping in at the all-terrain Touareg. I'll see you in the next video.